Hi, everyone. Welcome to STRATIVIS and to being on our podcast. And we are so grateful to have each one of you. Thank you all for taking the time to be here. We know how valuable your time is, and we are grateful that you have chosen to spend this hour with us. So as you all know, we work with founders who are as amazing as you all, and we created this series to hopefully bring like minds together and just be very open and vulnerable, share anything that makes you feel comfortable. Ideally, the more, you have to drink, perhaps the more you'll be open. But if you don't, that's okay too. We just want you as you are. And before we kick things off, I think it would be great for each one of you to just go around to introduce yourself, like 30 to 60 seconds, or if you want to make it 10 seconds, for each of you to know who you are. And then after that, I'm going to introduce a special guest to also get things started. So with that, I am going to go to my Brady Bunch, the person on the left to start.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here. I'm Myles Harrison. I am a data scientist and now entrepreneur and founder of my company, PRAKTIKAI, which is a data and analytics consulting practice. It's also the Greek word for practicality because there is a lot of hype and nonsense flying around the business world these days when it comes to AI. I do a lot of work here where I'm sitting in the city of Toronto with the tech community and partnering with startups and helping them build and things like that. But there's also a more traditional side to the work we do a bit north of here in a county called Simcoe, where we are working with a lot of manufacturers and helping them with operations and trade and logistics and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey.
Hi, I'm Paige Arnoff, and I'm the founder and CEO of Mavens and Moguls. We're a global branding and digital marketing firm that I started almost 25 years ago, and I'm based in the Boston, Massachusetts area, and I'm excited to chat with y'all today.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, I grew up in Boston, Paige, and I think Brandon's close by, so we'll have to talk about that at some point. But my name's Dan Sincavage. I founded a company called Tenfold, scaled it for 7 years and sold it to a company called Live Person in the conversational AI space. Served as the chief strategy officer there as a public company. More recently helped a friend sell a company called Pros in Houston, which is another public company to Thoma Bravo. I'm in a learning period of launching a consulting business and navigating a portfolio work model versus historically kind of being all in on one thing, which has its whole host of new challenges. And I think a lot of you are familiar with and working through too. So excited about the conversation today.
Dan, do you and Joe know each other? I feel like you've had to be at Twisted X before together.
I think you look really familiar, either there or like one of these like startup bashes in Austin.
Yeah. My sense is we've crossed paths. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'll go to Joe since I introduced you.
I'm Joe Silva. I'm the co-founder, CEO of Spektion. We're a cybersecurity software company. So we work with like large enterprise cybersecurity teams, helping them understand like how their systems are susceptible to attacks and how they can fix them. Kind of interestingly enough, I work with Brandon, Jenna's husband, and I worked with Amy when I ran cybersecurity at TransUnion, America's favorite credit bureau.
That's right. And now we're going to go to the other Brandon, non-Jenna's husband, Brandon.
I was going to say, the non-Jenna's husband. So I'm Brandon Metcalf. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Asymbl. Asymbl, we classify ourselves as a workforce orchestration company. So essentially what we do is provide talent recruitment technology to hire people. And then we have digital workers to supply the digital part of a hybrid workforce. And then we have a consulting practice that blends it all together. So we help companies build human digital workforces.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I talk to them. Some of them, they'll call me if I like say something to them. They'll just be like, "Hey, Jenna."
We have Stanley, we have Bradley, we have Rosa, we have Ben, we have Pam. Like there's quite a few. They all have different jobs and functions and motivations for success and different managers and coaching and the whole thing.
These are agents, not people, right? So I understand.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
People first.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. And not least, without further ado, Amy.
Hi, everybody. Amy Crook. I am the founder of STRATIVIS, and I have the pleasure of working very closely with Jenna on a day-to-day basis, and Erin, who's gone backstage. And I have been in talent for a couple decades, decided to set up a fractional firm a year ago. And now we're dabbling with a little bit of software building to help support kind of the work that we're doing with our clients. So super excited to be here as Jenna's guest.
Thank you, Amy. So now I'm sure you're all wondering who is the man in the corner that I am not picking on, but now he is our special guest and we are going to have some fun. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Kevin, who will lead us through some fun conversation starters. Thank you, Kevin.
Well, thanks for the intro, Jenna, and good to meet everybody. Technical difficulties, but the show must always go on. So my name is Kevin Railsback. I'm an employee health and benefits consultant, and I've been working in healthcare and healthcare technology for the last decade. That's like the technical reason why I work with Jenna, but actually the reason she asked me here is my wife and she were sorority sisters. We've known each other for a very long time. Prior to this decade in healthcare, I spent a little over a decade as an actor. So I think she brought me here because, like, you know, talking, being fun, funny, whatever, on cue. But when you're an actor, also you're a bartender. So I spent about a decade being a bartender as well. And I know that a bunch of you guys got sent a bottle of wine that might have that wine close by. So I thought we'd like start with just a little game. And even if you don't have wine, you can play along. This is going to be like a wait, don't tell me style little game. You're all leaders, CEOs, founders, and I would assume that you guys are all good communicators. You know how to speak with confidence, get people on your side so we can move in a direction. But do you know anything about wine? And don't answer if you're like a total wine snob. If you're a sommelier yourself, don't tell us because that's going to be part of the game. So don't tell me if you know anything about wine, but if you've got your wine nearby, I want you to give yourself a little tasting pour because you are going to try your wine. You are going to give us a sommelier level description of your wine. If you are a wine snob and a sommelier, fantastic, convince me. If you know nothing about wine, fantastic, convince me. And just so that it's fair, I'm going to, without knowing what you actually know about wine, after we're done, I'm going to give you guys a score on a range of novice to bartender BS to classic wine snob or sommelier level explanation. Just to get the ball rolling, I'll start with mine. As you can see, I have the scoring is on your description.
Accuracy or performance?
Performance only. Performance only. Tell me the truth, but it's about your performance, not about your accuracy. Because again, I'll show you right now. As you can see, my vintage is Die Pepper. This is not wine. I actually, I had to pull myself out of the game. I hit my quota early. So I'm on the Diet Dr. Pepper. So if you don't drink, you can also just fake it completely like me. But I'm going to give you my real, this is me going. So I'm going to give you an explanation of how to BS. So, okay. So it's a very fruit forward cherry, little caramel. The effervescence is really lifting the aromatics. Yeah, definitely cherry, a little blackberry, like a touch of licorice. There's something medicinal, so like a slight bitterness. It's almost like a burnt marshmallow. The body, light, effervescent, crisp. The aspartame is really kicking the finish into this dryness, which is quite enjoyable. So as you can tell, I would rate me like that's a bartender BS. That's a bartender BS. It is not based on real wine knowledge, clearly. But Dan, you volunteered yourself since I saw you got wine in your hand. So why don't you give us a go? Yeah, you did. I don't know. I'm so sorry. You got to go first, and then everybody else can start getting ready with your BS if you're BSing. But if you really know about wine, show us what you know. So Dan, give us a shot.
Yeah, swing and a miss on knowing a lot about wine, but I do enjoy it.
The pinky.
The pinky up. That was actually not planned. So if it was up, I apologize for that just being a natural state. But
that was great.
Definitely big and bold. Like feels like a confident wine, if you know what that means. I'm tasting some like black currant and dark cherry notes. Maybe a little bit of wet stone on the finish. Definitely worth pairing with like some kind of, some kind of nice steak. I think that's that's about what I got. Yeah.
Dan, that's fantastic. I'm going to give you a classic wine snob. That is second to only sommelier. That's
Cool.
a classic wine snob. Dan gets a classic wine snob.
Really?
I heard wet stone. I was like, I was brought in wet stone. Maybe Amy's going to
This
downgrade
is
you to
like
bartender
internal hiring
BS.
conversations. Like,
Why are you eating whetstones? That doesn't seem like the right thing to do.
Okay, Joe.
All right. So I have a faint hint of bourbon. Like definitely cognac flavor forward, like it was like aged in a cask.
Yeah.
Probably also on the nose, I get like bad decisions and fights. Take a full sip.
It's really good, your insecurity.
Yeah, I feel like it pairs well with like angry emails and family alienation. So.
Okay, Kevin, how would you score it?
Fantastic. You know what? You would have been at the bar right alongside me serving the drinks. That's a classic bartender BS. Because not only did he give us a good description, but there was some fun in it. He brought me in. I was leaning in and I learned more about him. So that's a bartender BS. That's a good score. I dig it. Okay, cool. Who's next?
Okay, I'm going to do Paige.
All right. I'm loving the color. I think it's just a really rich kind of deep blackberry. The nose is awesome. Kind of earthy undertones. And I love the legs. Like when you look and you're swooshing it, the legs are really kind of this is a hearty wine. And yeah, it would just go with pretty much anything. I mean, I'm a big red wine drinker anyway. So like, just, bring it on. I think the appetizer, the entree, I'd even drink it with dessert. So great choice. Really fun selection. And it kind of hits on all notes for me.
Fantastic. Not only did she give a food pairing all the way through dessert, but she also brought up the legs, which it felt so real. So it could have been bartender BS, but because of the legs and the dessert pairing, I'm going to give that a classic wine snob, not a novice, classic wine snob. I think the only person left is Brandon. Do we have Brandon left?
We have 3 more left. Yeah. So Brandon, your turn.
Okay.
Yeah, for mine, it's very, it's nice. It's refreshing. It's very crisp. I like it chilled. But it's significantly lacking in fun and alcohol and texture. I wouldn't want to pair it with anything. I'm just not a fan. I think it's a disaster.
They actually have water sommeliers now. So water sommelier is a real thing. They have them. Look it up. This is a real thing. You can have a water somm at your restaurant. But I would say that water description lacked the minerality quality that I was really hoping for in my water somm. And I didn't get to hear about the origin. So I'm going to drop that down to a water bartender BS. That's a water bartender BS from Brand.
But he gets the effort. Okay, I'm going to go to Myles.
Okay. I have this, I think it's Italian Sprite wine in a can. It's pretty good. It has a soft, kind of starts soft. It's very citrus forward, lemon and lime. And then it has a finish with the delicious taste of sodium benzoate and aluminum and NBA promotion. Yeah. I think it pairs well with like diabetes and processed food.
As a type 1 diabetic myself, I love that you're calling out the health implications of said wine. But then that's going to make me not want to drink it. So I don't know. It's a little worrying. Calling out the can though was a nice move. So I'm gonna give that a bartender BS, not a novice, but a bartender BS. You brought me in.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, Amy.
Okay. Smells like 4 p.m. and it's giving me images of regret and bad decisions. And I heard that it's got legs. And so I'm going to say that because I got somebody else extra points. And I think it's really tasty.
You wish you could have more? Is that You want to end? Okay. Okay. Kevin, how would you rate?
Got to give some extra points on bringing in the emotional experience. That's such an important quality. One of the best sommeliers that worked at this bar that I was at was always describing things in emotions. Like one time he described red wine as like a hairy chested lover who kisses you on the beach at night. And I was like, that is an experience you're describing. So I loved the experiential nature of how you did it.
The name of that wine.
I don't know. I think it was Harold. The wine was called Harold. No, I can't remember for the life of me.
Amy Franzi.
So you know what? I'm going to give that on the emotional description. That was some level emotional description, but I'm going to drop you down to classic wine snob because you asked for it. You asked for the extra points with the legs. So I'm going to drop you down to wine snob.
You don't ask, you don't get.
That's true. There you go. Now I know.
Great round. So
Yes.
who was the top? Who was the top mark? Was it Joe?
Yeah, this is tough. I gotta say, I think Joe's gonna be my winner for the humor and bringing me in with the description. But as far as actual wine description goes, I'm gonna have to give it to Dan. I think Dan was our sommelier for the day, but Joe was our bartender. I want Joe giving me the pour.
Nice. Congratulations, guys.
Congratulations, Joe. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Thank you so much, Kevin. That was fun.
You guys are welcome.
Okay, we appreciate you. Okay, so now that everyone's a little bit more, comfortable and knows each other and their ability to, is it bullshit maybe? We all
definitely
with, so that's good. So what is going to happen is there's about 10 questions that I have, and you don't have to answer each one, right? If there's one that really stands out to you, or if there's someone that I really think would be good at answering this, I might do that. But that's the show of what's going to be like. So with that, I'm going to start with a question that I think would be, it's a little bit more fun too, but what do, for each of you, what is something that your employees think that you know, but you actually always look it up on Google?
Honestly, probably how to spell something.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yes.
That's my only Googling these days. Is like, wait, did I spell that right? Everything else, I go straight to an LLM, unfortunately.
I was going to say, I don't know when the last time I Googled something is compared to the last time I've asked Claude or ChatGPT or any of the other things. I use like any math equation. It's easier for me to go there than have to think, which is I'm actually good at math and good at finance, but that's my shortcut.
I think for me, it's more technical stuff like how to do a print screen. Like I always forget, what are the 3 buttons you have to push at the same time?
Yeah.
Is it command? Is it shift? And, it's like I look like a tech genius, but really I'm just using a cheat sheet so that I don't screw it up.
That's me too. And I'm not a founder, but tech is not my thing, but you can make it look like it is. Yes.
I'd say like a pet peeve for me, and I don't have employees right now. I'm like a sole employee, so like I annoy myself at times. But like previously, like whatever the employees asked, if I didn't know the answer, like it would be a look up in Google. And then if the answer was very evident, that was always a pet peeve for me of like, did you take the like quick second to Google it before like spamming the entire company with the question? So like, my answer would be like, whatever they asked would be like, if I didn't know the answer, it's like, let me see if I can find that very quickly. And if I could, like, here's the answer, but maybe next time, like, try Google.
Yeah.
Which would be Claude or something else to Brandon's point today.
Yes.
Is Google the new dictionary?
I don't know anybody that Googles anything except maybe my parents.
It's been a while. Yeah.
It's funny. I built my first software company by teaching myself how to program in Salesforce via Google.
Really?
I Googled all the questions that I ever had, and there was so much knowledge built out there that it was easy to figure out how to do it.
Occasionally when I've hit the Claude usage like threshold, I'll divert to Google. And yeah.
Well, now we're going to move into more vision and innovation. So what is one company you wish you'd invest in?
Facebook.
ARM, the chip designer.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Did you say Facebook game?
Yeah, it just blew up. Like that would have been awesome to get some of that stock.
Databricks for my
I
end.
mean, for me, it would probably be Anthropic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I wasn't given the opportunity to invest in Anthropic. But
Same. Small detail.
It's been revealed. Okay.
As long as we're imagining.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to another question that perhaps you two could answer, but what problem in the world do you hope that someone solves in your lifetime?
I hope, but I know they won't. And that is that if there's someone out there that could figure out how to get people to quickly and efficiently get off an airplane after it lands, I would be the happiest person in the world. Because my favorite person in the world is the person that somehow is capable enough to have enough money to fly first class, but then is not capable enough to figure out how to get their bag out of the overhead bin while 150 people are waiting for them. Or maybe they just don't care.
It drives
Myles,
me
just remember
insane,
this.
Myles.
This is how they do it when there's no emergency. Imagine if there was an emergency, how they do it.
That's true. That's so true. Okay.
I
Who
mean,
else?
the obvious ones for me, and I don't know, you're probably not thinking this, but like cure cancer, autoimmune disease, world peace, like,
World
yeah,
peace.
that would be awesome, but realistic, not so much.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna move.
I
Oh,
hope
sorry.
somebody could, or eventually somebody might be able to work out a more effective way to spend the tax dollars that they collect from me on a regular basis. I'd like them to figure out something that's going to work a little bit better than them.
Well, I love that one. I'd like them to figure out how I don't have to pay them tax
Yes,
dollars.
that's the real unlock there.
Got to get those deductions in.
I'm always jealous of how people figure out how their taxes are so small. I just don't, we're doing something wrong. I don't know. I agree with you on that. Okay. So now moving on to how, you've all evolved as leaders and as founders. So what habit has had the biggest impact on your effectiveness?
Emotional modulation. Like you have to understand when you're leading, especially a small company with people who are typically really committed, they read you way more than you think they do. And you have to really modulate emotionally because they're going to, even if they're not experts, they're going to read micro expressions, which means if you get really up with something, it's great, but then they're also going to expect the inverse. So being steady and emotionally modulating, because you have to understand that what for you may not seem like a big thing, people may 10x that in terms of what it signifies.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And to extend it further, one of the things I've learned is, I need to be 6 to 9 months where I want everyone else to be. So if the business is doing really well right now, I need to be foreshadowing the business is going to be struggling 6 to 9 months from now. So what are we going to be doing? Or if the business is struggling right now, in 6 to 9 months as we get through it, here's the happy path. This is where we're going to be to get them focused and dialed into where we want to go versus what they're stuck in today.
Keep them on track towards the goal versus being stuck in just, I think sometimes the everyday, right? Versus that this is the end goal and it's not going to be linear, right? I think that's sometimes hard.
Yeah, and to somewhat to Joe's points, the emotional, realizing that people hang off of every word and every facial reaction that I make. But to my point, it's not just the focus of how do we get there, but it's what are they going through right now? If the business is tough, everyone's super frustrated. But when the business is popping, everyone's super happy and forgets what it's like to be frustrated. So how do you balance that out? And because no one else in the room or in the company is going to do it.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, it's your responsibility to see around those corners and come up with a contingency plan for either way. Good or bad, you have to be ready to take the necessary steps to make it work.
For me, it's more not trying to do everything myself, leveraging my network and my contacts and delegating so that I'm not always the best person to solve all the problems, even though I may feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders. I have to know where I can add value and know where I can count on others. So just relying on my team.
I was going to say the same thing, Paige. I was worried that I'm earlier in the journey than everyone else, because for me, it's been delegating and learning to delegate effectively has been something that I've gotten better at. But also at the same time, sometimes the expression, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself, can be true. But then that's still not good as a leader, because even if there's something that maybe you could do better, maybe that's not true. Your time, it's not your job to do that. And your time is better served doing something else, or just reviewing what someone else does and saying, yes, this is good, or no, or guiding them. Right. So it's still a bit difficult for me, but that's something that I've slowly gotten better.
Yeah, I would agree. Also difficult for me, Myles, like an area I struggle with, and probably like area of growth on my side. But in terms of like where I've like grown the most or learned the most, the like leaning into uncomfortable conversations side of things. Like I think early on, like I was a manager of like people when I was very young that were much older than me, and I like tended to like dance around difficult issues and wanted to be like a friend more than a leader. And like then you have to let people go, and like you realize the downstream like impact of like, oh, like I could have been more direct with people about like their performance or expectations or things, and I left some of those things unsaid and implicit, and I did it because I thought it was in their best interest, like not to like hurt their feelings, but like recognizing that feedback delivered in the right way is a gift, and avoiding it's like a really shitty thing to do as a leader. So like leaning hard into the conversations that are uncomfortable as early as you can, and recognizing that even if it's tough, like it's usually in the best interest of the person to hear that, versus like letting it play forward and having some like other, negative impact on them downstream.
I totally agree. I had to learn that too, the hard way.
Yeah.
Right. Not really. It hurts them in the long run, and you're not doing them any favors, actually. So yes, I agree.
It's such an interesting transition for those of you that have been, corporate, which might be all of us actually, corporate, then moved into running your own business, is that all of those good habits that you built, I think, are really good foundationally. But when it becomes your baby, it's so difficult to have that same objective perspective. And to Myles's point, like, I almost wish that I could unlearn the like, well, if you want something doing, like, because I get crazy, and I'm glad Erin's not on here because she's been dealing with me for a while and she's not able to call me out. But like the little things that could easily be passed on that I like collect, because I'm so conscious that at this stage of growth that it needs to be authentic, correct, and reliable. I don't work with anyone who couldn't do this easily, but it's hard when it's your thing to separate decision from emotion sometimes. But you have to force yourself, because otherwise you'll kill your own company.
I was definitely thinking about you and Erin when we were talking about delegation. So that was spot on. You got better, I think. You're welcome. So with all of you being founders, what is something that you wish someone had told you before becoming a founder, perhaps that you didn't know or didn't realize would be a thing? If there was a chance, what do you wish someone could have told you?
Don't do it. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Don't.
Do you want to stay married? No, just kidding. Just kidding.
For me, it was more like the people that you start with are not always the ones that are going to grow with you. And so it's a lesson I learned, but I wish I had learned it sooner. My bias is, we have a saying in the South, you want to dance with the date that brung you. And so the people that started with me, I kept them around longer than a few of them, longer than I probably should have. When the signs were there that we were growing beyond their comfort zone and they didn't have the growth mindset that we needed to scale, I should have shook hands and parted ways sooner. Because, if you're working with the A team, they want everyone to be on the A team. And if there are people dragging you down, culturally, it's just not going to be a good fit for growth and scaling. So I just wish I had learned that a little faster. But once I learned it, I got really good at it. and I spotted the signs early and wasn't scared to get going. But they say you hire slowly and fire fast. And I think that's really true.
I agree.
For me, I think this is my fourth company, but I've scaled the probably two things. But the biggest thing is managing yourself and managing your own headspace is the key to all of it. No one else is going to be there to help you do that. And the emotions and the mindset that you're dealing with, regardless of if it's positive or negative, will directly impact everyone else in your ecosystem. Every employee will latch onto it, and you don't have to say anything. You don't have to give any look, but they can just feel the energy, and that energy is what's going to distract them or help them. So realizing that, and realizing that, finding ways to clarify that mental space is probably one of the biggest benefits you could do for yourself and for your company.
I've heard people say before, well, yeah, like being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. I'm not sure that one sentence really articulates and emphasizes that point enough based on my experience. And the other thing that I wish what I would tell myself if I did this again, is that for the type of business I'm doing, it's not field of dreams, right? It's not if you build it, they will come. And it seems kind of backwards, but the way that cash flow works and that you need money to operate a business and build it, you kind of have to like buy the plane ticket and then pack your luggage after. So I feel like I spent a lot of time, and I mean, it was good too, because like the team also, we spent a lot of time building a lot and learning together. I think if I did it again, if somebody had put it a slightly different way to me, or if I could explain it to myself and say, look, this isn't about sales and this isn't about culture, this is about sheer operational economics, then it would be like, oh, okay, I would have done something that was different. Because a very common founder mistake, whether they are building a product and have venture capital and funding dollars behind them, or whether they're bootstrapping, is to, suffer in silence, spend 2 years building a product, a service that nobody wants. So you need to get out and sell, and even if you're not in business of sales, and if you're a founder, you need to get out and talk to people and say, like, what do my customers really want, and get feedback.
Really good point. Yes.
Or something I understood but didn't have, like, I have a better appreciation for now, at least, is that the trajectory of your company is less about all the things you do and more about the story you can tell, which, depending on the company, is sometimes loosely tethered to the things that you're doing, right? It's like based on it, but it's really more like work backwards from the narrative you want to tell at each stage in the company.
Mm-hmm.
So lie is what you're saying?
No, it's not a lie, but these are data points created by what you do, and this is the story you want to tell. Those data points can be put together in different ways.
I mean, you have to do that all the time. Look at what's in front of you and make it make sense. Like, that's just like every single day.
People want to read narratives, not fact sheets.
So true. Yeah.
Or make narratives.
Sure, you're right. No, people will make their own narrative if you don't give them the narrative.
You don't give it to them, then they're going to make their own. People are quick, right? Okay. So now moving on to decisions and defining moments, which I'm sure all of you probably can attribute to. But tell us about a moment that perhaps you questioned whether your company would make it. And it doesn't have to be, the one that right now, it could be a different one that you were operating in, but was there just a challenging time that you could speak of that you're like, ugh, I just don't think it's going to work?
The weird thing, I mean, Glassdoor didn't make it, but that was not my responsibility. The one thing that I'm actually consistently shocked by is that despite the first 6 months that Erin and I experienced, not one time did we think like, God, this is not going to work. It's not going to work. Like, the entire time we were psychotically delusional that like it was only a matter of time that things were going to land the way that we needed them to land. And then I look at this fiscal year and I'm like, good, like we stuck it out, because there are so many moments, and you see, especially when you have co-founders, because it's like a different bond. Like I often think I spend more time with Erin and Jenna than I do with like probably anyone else. But we just have this like relentless belief. There's not anything in us that we think, oh, we might not be able to do that, or this might not be possible. And I actually think you need that. Otherwise you will give up and your company will fail, because it's easy to give up. It feels right. Everything is telling you like, just go back to corporate. It's easy, it's safe, but that's not what you want to do. You want to build.
Every quitter I know thinks about failure. So like I really, Jen, I'm a relentlessly positive person. Like, I'm serious. I spent a lot of time in like my career and other jobs assessing people, and I've seen a lot of people quit hard things, and every quitter I know thinks about failure.
Same.
It's
Delusional.
just ignored. Like that's not an option. So we'll just keep going. Yeah.
But I like that.
I don't even believe in failure. I think you either succeed or you learn something, and you don't make that mistake again. If you learn, you're better for it and you move forward. And, you've heard the saying, if one door shuts, go find the window, go find the back door. Like, I think that's just, for me, it's kind of part of the entrepreneurial DNA. Like, I was never scared to fail. It never dawned on me that it wouldn't work. I'm like, it might not be a Fortune 500 company one day. I doubt it will, but we're going places. Like, we're solving real problems, and people seem to appreciate the help, and let's do it. I think the first few years, it's like putting a car in, fifth gear. I didn't even realize you could downshift. Like, I was just going. And it took me years to figure out, like, sometimes you're in second gear, sometimes you're in neutral. I didn't even know there were other gears on the, in the car for years, literally. And I just attribute it to, I guess this is what it means to be an entrepreneur. I don't know.
It's nice to do it for yourself, though, rather than do it for some big corporation that you don't even care about.
But you did make me think of something, Paige. Just another question is, was there on all of your journeys, was there, a piece of advice that perhaps you ignored, right? Thinking like, I don't need to worry about that or right now, but it actually turned out to be right and you wish you had listened to it?
I don't have that capacity for introspection, so I'll let somebody.
Yeah, trying to
I was going to say
what that would.
Similar to Joe. We get so much advice and so many opinions, and everyone has one. And there's just so much context that people from the outside who are trying to help you and trying to give you opinions just don't have the full perspective all the time. So I think one of the biggest lessons to learn is, how do you process the why behind what someone's actually trying to tell you, so you can get to the what they're actually trying to tell you, to figure out, can you apply it or not? Because I do think listening is a secret weapon. Listening to your employees, certainly listening to your customers, but even listening to friends. And most of the founders I know are friends with a lot of other founders. We just kind of flock together, and all the businesses are very different, but there's similarity in all the challenges that we all face. And I'm certainly big fan of getting into like CEO groups and things like that, especially when you're in the earlier stages of the business, to try to hear perspectives and opinions. But at the end of the day, it's like, how do you process that information to figure out what the right decision is at the time? And similar to Joe, I'm like, I can't be that retrospective of all the different pieces. But as much as like advice and opinions, everyone has them, like, there is a lot of knowledge out there that you can gain if you apply it the right way.
Mm-hmm. And one person's definition of stalking can be someone else's definition of being pleasantly persistent. So, I feel like what works or didn't work for you might work for me, because my style is a little bit different. Like, I remember I had met a CEO, this woman CEO of a very interesting industrial products company. And we had met at a networking event. She said, I want you to come to the office. I want to show you what's going on. Maybe you could help me with marketing. We sent in a proposal after the meeting. And for weeks, I was following up, by email, by voicemail. The woman was like completely non-communicative. And I thought, well, well, I tried. I guess she hired somebody else. I don't know. And then this networking group that we both belonged to had a big event, and she was the keynote speaker at the event. And I almost didn't go because I thought she's going to think I'm stalking her. Like, I followed up. She never responded. I saw her across the room before her big keynote and kind of waved, but I didn't make it over to her before she went up on stage, and she gives this big speech about, it's a women business owners group. She gave this big speech about how critical it is as women business leaders. We need to support each other, put our money where our mouth is. We should be hiring each other and really thinking of each other first before we go to the greater community. That's what these groups are supposed to do for each other. And as part of her talk, her speech, she said, and that's why I've hired Paige's firm to handle all of my marketing and PR for the next year. And I'm like, wait, did she just say she's no questions, didn't even acknowledge receipt of the proposal, nothing? And this is a group with like 300 members, and it was a big meeting. A lot of people were there. And I got so much business as a result of this event because this woman is known as being just tough as nails, very astute and just tough. And I felt like a rock star. Like after she finished, people were like coming up to me, oh my God, you must be so good. If she hired you, oh my God, like, if I need help, you're going to get the phone call. Like, I'm going to let you know as soon as I have the budget, I want to hire you too. And I thought I almost didn't show up at this event because she hadn't responded to my messages. And, thank God I did, because I got more business as a result of that meeting. The next month was like the busiest period of my company. And I was only a few years old at that point. And so you just don't know. I mean, you think you know because you're the founder, you're the CEO, you started the business, you know the ins and outs, but you don't know everything. And I think we can't get out of our own ways sometimes. So trust your intuition. And if it's something you believe in and you're excited about, bring it. And when the timing's right, the stars will align.
I like that. Trusting your gut.
So like the original question on existential crisis, like we were growing like super quickly, like no idea what we were doing. We raised like $1.3 million and we were at 3 million in like run rate, and went out, raised a bunch of money in San Francisco over Christmas, and we came back to like scale the company, and like we had raised at a $70 million valuation, like things were going great. And like maybe 6 months down the line, my co-founder, like at the time, I'll use careful words here, like was running like a secretive ICO in the background to like do an initial coin offering, and had allocated shares differently than what were, apportioned amongst investors for ownership, and had spent millions of dollars on said ICO effort. And like we went from like a $70 million valuation, like scaling super quickly, like we're hiring like incredible talent, to like, okay, we're recapping the company. It was an $8 million valuation, and like no one trusted the business. And so it was like a super existential moment of like, fuck, like, like I spent 3 years, like we had this opportunity, and like I trusted the wrong person or whatever. Like now this is kind of, in a tough situation. But I'd say like customers were still using the product, getting a ton of value. And like we hungered down to a core group of people, hired some folks that some of like, Mike came in as CFO and like brought in a new CEO, and like started to rally the team. So for me, like that was an existential moment. I was in like a dark place. I think we hired people that were like positive Joe type people that were like, no, we can do this. And like they came in and lifted, the company out of that, along with myself. Like I started to rally around that too. But that was a kind of defining moment for me. I'm not 100% sure of all of the lessons packed in that, but I've carried them forward. And like I do think like one of the key lessons was just, people want to be at a place that's winning. They want to understand like how they're contributing to what it is that the mission and vision is. And like, I think Jeff, who came in as our CEO at the time, like did an incredible job of re-enlisting everybody of, if you're here, you're part of building this and you have a defined role and your contribution to that is clear. And like every day you should understand how what you're doing is attaching to this kind of higher level company objective. And like it massively took the culture from this like deep, dark hole to like, okay, like we're all now rallying around building this new thing. And we sold the company for a great exit in like less than 2 years after that. And I attribute a lot of it to that like new energy coming in and shifting the culture and a whole lot of work that was done by Mike on the CFO side as well. But like definitely maybe to Joe's original point of like understanding the narrative, like what are you building towards, getting people aligned around that, and then just like running hard at it. It makes a big difference.
I agree with you. Having a CEO, I mean, I'm a firm believer of what the company is and the culture is, like starts at the top, right? And then you're able to, you know, continue the efforts from the CEO or the founder, right, of what they're looking for. But it does take a certain person, I think, and energy to get folks to do that. So I agree with you. I'm going to switch it up a little bit because I feel like I have a different group, perhaps. The retrospective just isn't, you know, flavor. So how about, what is perhaps a really wild moment that you've had that you needed to keep yourself like in it, in the game? Was there like, did you have to like drive to Mexico or something in a night? Did you have to, you know, go and, you know, sell something crazy? Like what was something where you're like, okay, I got to do this. So I just got to do it. I got to keep going. Was there ever any time like that?
I mean, I was trying to win my biggest client. This is my first company. The buyer was based in Singapore. And I was living in San Francisco at the time, and we didn't have any money, and we're scrappy. And this was a multi-billion-dollar largest staffing firm in the world that we're trying to win a region for that we really had no business winning. So every meeting that he wanted to have with his team, I would fly an economy from San Francisco to Singapore to take the meeting in person. And we got through the whole deal cycle, and it was down to me and a legacy provider that corporate was saying, you need to take the legacy provider. And he said, no, I'm going to choose Brandon because I know him, I trust him. And he showed up every single time. So it was suffering through those flights and building the in-person relationship that led to not only winning that division, but ultimately winning the global relationship with them, which then had me sell my company for a lot of multiples because of it. It was terrible. The crowd was great, but it was a lot of fun.
But I'm sure you have so many points now because of it, right? You're able to rack that up.
Like, this isn't exciting, but it was excruciating and miserable. Like, hey, we're going to make a decision tomorrow. Here's some criteria we need you to answer by tomorrow morning in like, 111-page Word document. And just going through it all, it's like not a thing you can claw your way through. I just know like I crushed like 2 things of like nicotine pouches. I had like small like myocardial infarction like during it. I was just ripping espressos and nicotine the whole time. Like, I mean, that's kind of the job, but it's fucking miserable. Right. Like, I'll just be honest. It's not exciting. Like, nobody's shooting at me.
In that space for
no one's shooting at you. That's a good thing.
No, but yeah, like it's just brutal. Yeah, you just really gotta like, lock in. Like, I did not have like the right psychotropic drugs to like make it through. So it was just like nicotine and espresso, and I just power through. Just miserable. Like, I spent like 30 minutes before I did it, like just thinking about how much I don't fucking want to do this.
You have to do what you have to do, right? You just got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have no choice.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Paige, were you going to say something, or Myles? I didn't know if you were purple. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I did not fly to Singapore. I on a much, much smaller scale, but, we pitched some business against some much more established, bigger firms. And, I grew up in the Deep South, and manners are really important. I return phone calls, I write thank you notes, just kind of like the basic etiquette, courtesy. And when we don't win business, I never ask people, why didn't you hire us? Or, what did we do wrong? I just figure it didn't work, whatever. But we won this piece of business, and it was a huge project. And I said, I know the firms you're talking to and a lot of great competition out there. I'm just curious, what made you choose us? We're obviously thrilled. And he said, y'all had the best manners. He said, like, every time you said you'd get back to us on Friday, you always did. After meetings, you wrote thank you notes. Like, nobody does that. And I think sometimes it's like just the basics that you end up standing out because, yeah, you press the flesh, you show up in person, you make the extra effort. Another client had an RFP, and we usually don't do RFPs to win business. I'm not really into beauty contests. It's like usually they're just shopping around to get a better price or to make the incumbent agency more competitive. But this company insisted that we fill it out. And I looked at the RFP and I said, we're not a traditional agency. We don't they wanted all the spec work. And I'm like, that's not the way we roll. I can fill out the RFP, but there are like 4 questions I'm just going to ignore. And they said, all right, fine, you can ignore them. And we had the meeting, and it ended up, we raised questions challenging a lot of their basic assumptions that they thought were so critical to the RFP. And we challenged them in a way that I thought for sure we would lose the business, because depending on how you interpret the questions, it could be like a response would be like, you need to invest twice as much money as you think you do to answer these questions, depending on the assumptions you're making. And they said, how do you mean? And we explained it. And they said, oh my God, no other firm raised this. You're absolutely right. And they ended up hiring us for twice as much money as they wanted to spend, because they didn't understand the difference of what they were asking for. So sometimes just being honest and being, just human, especially these days with AI, the more human you can be, the more direct you can be, showing your creativity. I think that's what's going to help people stand out and win more business. And, I just think that comes down to the killer application of the new millennium, maybe. I don't know.
Yes, I agree. I think being, true to yourself is the best way to be, no matter what that is. Well, we are at time, and it went by fast. I think it did. I hope it did. But I just want to thank all of you so much for your time, for your stories, for your honesty, for all of your, lessons learned, and how what you have gone through has definitely shaped where you are today. Even if we don't want to talk retrospectively, I still appreciate hearing about it and hearing what your thoughts are. But all of you are amazing people, and loved hearing from each of you. So cheers, and here's to taking risks, lifting each other up. Joe, you have to cheers and lift others up, and continuing to build companies. So thank you guys so much for today's conversation.